Hello everyone and welcome to Boris FX Live. I hope everyone can hear me. This is the first office hours that we've done for a little while, or that I've done for a little while anyway. So I'm a little bit rusty. If you're new to office hours, this is our weekly chat where we just sort of take a look at various bits of Boris FX software and start working through them. So it's really your chance to ask questions that you want to ask about different various bits of Boris FX software to different various Boris FX hosts. I'm Ben Brownlee. I can't remember if I've said that. So if you can hear me, then please let me know in the chat, just so that I know that things are actually working. So let's take a little look here. We're going to start off today in a second. There we go. Let's show me there as well. We're going to start off by looking at Sapphire and Builder, because one of the big things that's happened in the latest release of Sapphire is parameter linking in Builder, and this gives us just like a ton of new opportunities and options for working with effects and presets together. So let's take a look at my first thing in here. I'm just going to come into Builder. So you find Builder in two different places actually in Sapphire. You find it either under S Effect or under S Transition. And I can already tell that I'm going to need to just shift my gaze over here so that you can start to see what's going on there. All right, let's come straight into Builder. Now, if you are, let's bring this into space there. If you're not working with Builder already, then hopefully this is going to actually convince you that Builder is a very good idea. Because what we're going to do, if we take a little look here, we've got our Sapphire effects all on the left-hand side. We have our viewer of what we're going to see up in the top here. Let's fit this to view so we can see the whole thing. And then down at the bottom, we have our lovely little workspace. So this is where we can start to chain different effects together. So I've been talking about the Builder for, I don't know, I can't remember how many years now, but it really is my favorite single effect in Sapphire because it takes all of my effects in. But there was a new thing that happened in the recent update. And this is something that actually brings out the flexibility of this even more. And that's the ability to come up into different parameters and start linking them together. So I'm just going to add a straightforward blur because I think I found that blur is a good way of sort of conveying what's happening here. And under the blur amount, we've got this little stopwatch. Now, if you are a long time Builder user, then you'll know that in here you used to be able to just see the auto animating stuff happen. So things would animate from either from 0 to whatever your value was, or up and down depending on the length of your clip. So this is coming in and auto animating things up. But we've got a new icon up at the top here, and this is parameter linking. So I'm not going to touch this yet. Set this back to this one here. Let's find a space where we can see it. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a driver, which means that this value is now open and available to all the other parameters that we can use inside of Builder. And I'll do everything within the same effect to begin with. So what I can do now is I can link together my blur amount to another parameter like brightness, for example. So all I have to do is click on this little stopwatch again. This opens up my parameters, and I can use this link icon and tell it what it's going to use as a driver. So now I've only got one. I'm going to use my blur amount, which means that as I bring up my blur amount, it brings up my brightness. Actually, I can tell now. I'm going to have to shift myself over here. Maybe there was a reason why I had myself over there in the first place. I don't know. And we don't have to, just have these one-to-one matching. So for example, here I've got my blur amount set to 0, but this also means that my brightness is already set to 0. So I can use offsets and scale on here. So if I want my brightness to begin at 1, I just use the offset of 1. And so now as I blur up, it not only blurs up the effect, but it also brightens up the effect, which is what I want it to do. We can also scale things as well. So if I come to the offset darks, let's get a bit of contrast in here. I can connect this again. So using the link, I can connect this to my blur amount, and I can scale this up. Well, let's just see what happens there. So it's going up as the blur goes up. I don't really want that. I can set this to go down, so I can set my scale to a negative value. So let's set this to -1. But that's maybe a bit harsh, so we can just twirl this around until we find the value we want. Maybe, yeah, minus 0.1. There we go. Maybe that's the one. And so now we can see, just with connecting one button in here, or one parameter, one slider, I can now control loads of different effects. We don't have to choose a parameter in the same effect as well. Because we're in the builder, the whole point of this is being able to chain nodes together. So if I come in, let's find another one. I often use what we got, one of the distortion ones. Am I going to go for a straight distort? Yeah, I will. Yeah, I think so. And the amount, this looks almost too perfect to come in. I'm just going to come in, select my little stopwatch, chain that up, select my driver, and now I can't actually control the amount of distortion because it's locked, because it is linked to my blur. So we've got all of these things linked to that same blur amount. Let's just scale this down just a little bit. Okay. So now I have got this scaling in. What I can do is I can try and find where the controls are going to be, because you can imagine as we start to build this up, I'm going to get quite a lot of nodes working down here in a minute. It can be a little bit tricky to find where it is we're actually trying to go back to. Where is the controller? Which is why I have a handy dandy little button which says View Driver Node. So if I click on this, it automatically selects the node that it's using to drive that effect. And so now you can see I'm driving, hang on a sec, let's turn off preview selected node, and you should be able to see now I'm driving my blur and my distortion and my brightness and my offsets all with the same single thing here. Let's come in and turn this up. Very nice. All right, so last little bit on the introduction of this here, because this is another feature that makes this whole thing really, really useful for me, and that's being able to choose what we see when we bring this effect back into the host. It doesn't matter what host we're using. I'm using After Effects today. Could be Premiere, could be Resolve, could be any of the supported Sapphire host. It doesn't really matter. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose which things to publish back in. So at the moment, it's taking out all of my parameters. I don't need all of these. So I'm just going to turn all of them off. And the only one I actually need to worry about is blur amount. Same with the distortion. I don't actually need to worry about any of these things. I'll just turn all of those off. So now I've only got one slider. That's called blur amount. Here's something new in Sapphire 2023.5. If I double click on this blur amount, I can rename this, because we knew that we were going to be able to come in and control lots of things which, you know, maybe didn't have anything to do with the original name. We can now just double click and rename any of these things. So if I just call this one effect control and I hit OK on that, we come back into After Effects. If I look just up above my head, I've got one single control now that is called effect control back in After Effects here, and I can just come in and just be playing around with that, and you can see that all of my Sapphire effects are actually coming and being controlled by this one single parameter. I can even keyframe this up and down if I want to, which I obviously do. So let's give us a bit of a round preview here. That's kind of fun. But I mean, this is really just the, you know, the first sort of steps with parameter linking as well. One of the things that I did a lot of up until the release of this was I was working with John Dickinson to help create and curate the builder presets. So over the years, we've built up like a ton of builder presets, like you know, over 100 and something, like maybe 300 or something builder presets, a lot of builder presets anyway. And they've been made by different artists over the years. And so what we did is we went through them all and we started to come in and decide, you know, which ones maybe needed pruning away, maybe they're, you know, a little bit too old, and which of those that aren't too old, which of those could benefit from some of the new features, like the parameter linking and just sort of general tidying up. One of those was actually one of the my own presets that I'd made a little while ago, maybe for Sapphire 2022, maybe 2022.5, but it's not, you know, it's not too old. It's actually quite a nice little one. This is my 80s glass warp background. I kind of like this one. But like a lot of these effects, you know, they were actually quite difficult to come in and customize afterwards because they had so many controls in them. But let's have a look. Let's stop talking about it and actually just look at it. If you're just joining us now, I can see a few of you are just joining us. You're watching Boris FX Live. My name is Ben Brownlee, and we are exploring Builder and linking and why you should be using it. If you're using Sapphire, there's no reason not to. So for this particular effect, this is built up of a gradient multi. So basically we've got two controls here. I don't even think we're animating these. I think they're just as they are. Then I've got a wave warp to come in and animate this up a little bit, give it a bit of movement. And then the fun stuff happens. So the fun stuff is going in with a distort. Like whenever I'm sort of searching for little ideas of what to do with something, I do tend to find myself, you know, being drawn to the distort category quite a lot. And so this is just giving us a little bit of movement in here. Now, knowing what you know now about linking, you can see my amount here is green, which means that this is a driver. If we open this up, you can see this is actually a driver. So let's have a look at what it's actually driving. Let's come down here, because I've got my next one here, which is the warp bubble. and this is the one that's properly driving a lot more of the animation. And we can see here both my amplitude and my frequency, which we used to have to keyframe and change separately if we wanted to change anything up, are now linked to something. Let's see what they're linked to. Well, this one is linked to my distort amount with a little bit of a scale on it. And this one, surprise, surprise, is also linked to my distort amount with a bit more of a scale on it. And coming down here, I've got my little emboss, which is coming in, and let's see if I can move this around a little bit, coming in, sort of giving us a little bit of direction, a little bit of 3D kind of, not 3D lighting really, but fake 3D lighting. And at the end, the thing I like to put in all over the top of everything is a nice little bit of ultra glow just to tie everything together. And this one also has some parameter linking in here. And this is quite an interesting little linkage, I think. Shall I show you on this one? Yeah, let's actually look. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here on these down at the bottom. So width, red, green, and blue. This is a nice little trick that I enjoy doing. So I enjoy actually making, if one of the sliders moves upwards, I enjoy making a companion slider move in the other direction. And that's a very, very common thing that I'll do with a lot of these, because I'll find that, you know, there's a lot of sort of contrasty things. A lot of these things act a bit like a seesaw to kind of balance each other out. And so what I'd like to do on this one is, as we move the red up, I want the blue value to move down. So let's make our red a driver, and we'll come down to blue. Let's open this up, and let's say it's going to be linked to my width red, and I want it to do the opposite. So the easiest way to do this is to go with a scale, go multiplied by -1. So now my width red is 1 and my width blue is -1. Okay, we can see a little bit of a problem there already. So, well, two problems. One, the width blue can't go below 0, and the other one is that, you know, it's actually not doing what I want it to do at all. It's not moving above 0, because it's always going to be minus. So this is where we're going to offset this. If I just offset this 1, that's not really going to do exactly what I'm after, because it starts, the width red starts at 1, so this is going to be -2. So I'm going to actually offset this to 2, so that now when everything is in the line, you know, when it's starting out, width red starts at 1, width blue starts at 1. But now as I move my width red up past 1, the width blue goes down in the opposite way. So if I put my width red to 1.1, my width blue is 0.9. And this is you know, always the way that I'll find the balance. You know, always multiply it by -1, and then the only thing that we need to do is to change the offset to, you know, make sure that the seesaw is balanced at the start. And this is something that I've done up here as well with the glow fall off bias. So I've set this as a driver. It's not doing anything much more interesting than that. And the glow bias is scaling it. Actually, I haven't even done anything really interesting with this. I've just scaled it to -0.6. All right, I thought I'd been a bit more creative with that. But the you know, the whole thing still stands. It's always a bit of a seesaw with certain parameters. Width red being a big one of them. The other thing you'll have noticed is, just like we did with the previous example, I've turned off most of the controls, so we don't get to see the controls that we're not going to use. So it means that when I come back in here, let's cancel this one out. Yeah, when I come back in here, I've only exposed the parameters that I really want to use properly in the interface. All keyframes will be cleared save anyway. No, let's just go back. So that means that if we take a little look here, yeah, we've got our distort mount, which is the one that's doing most of the heavy lifting, as we saw. And it means that if I wanted to change this up, I really only have to change up a couple of the parameters. Let's move my face out of the way so you can actually see what it is. Yeah, we only have to change up a couple of the parameters here, and we can come in and get quite a quite a different sort of feeling for it. Maybe even change up some of these as well. What am I going to do here? Yeah, actually, that was kind of all right, kind of like that. So we can, when we've gone through these, a lot of them have been, through these presets, a lot of them have been with the eye to making them more easily customizable. Actually, I'm going to skip over this one. I'm going to come back to my next one. I want to just, with that in mind, I just want to show you this, because this is a preset I made ages ago, because actually I needed this for a project, and it sort of made its way into the software, which I always like. So these are just sort of flashing police lights. Let's take the effect in there. Hello to the new viewers. If you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, just leave us a little comment, or leave us a sort of thumbs up. I'm always happy about that. Let's come back in here. Let's edit my effects. Yeah, this was actually a pretty tricky one in the first place, because the way it's built up. Let's sort of zoom out a little bit. Yeah, the way it's built up is basically it's on black, and we've got. Let's see if I can find a place where that shines up. Yeah, then we've got different flares coming in, and giving us the different sort of flashes, and they flash on and off. And we've got a blue that does the same sort of thing, so it comes out and it flashes on and off. And to drive all of these, I mean, this whole thing is kind of all right, that's fair enough, but to drive all of these, what I had to do, and this is where it got a bit tricky if you wanted to actually change things up like the speed, is we had a flicker. Let's can I see what the flicker's doing? Yes, you can see what the flicker's doing. So the flicker's coming up, going down, coming up, going down. And I even had to leave a little note if people wanted to come in and change this up. Let's move me over here again. Yeah, the note said, keep both flicker red and blue wave amplitude values equal if you want the lights to alternate. It's like, okay, thanks for the note, Ben, but I'm not going to do that. And so, people would just kind of just leave it at defaults. So thankfully, we've now got parameter linking. And parameter linking has really helped us out on this one, because we can see that we've got master wave frequency, and the phases of the red, green and blue are all set in the flicker red. And over on the flicker blue, I've got my master frequency here, which is linked to the red frequency. So they won't ever go out of sync in terms of frequency. And I've got my red, green and blue, the waves here, they are going to be set so they're offset, so they'll always go up and down in the same way. So what this means is that at the end of it, what I was able to do with this one is well, let's sort of round preview this so you can get an idea for what the speed is going to be. I'll just let this round preview just for a moment. Bim, 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 bim. So that's the speed that it originally was. But if you wanted that to be different, you'd have to go in and muck about with a ton of stuff. Now the new one, all I have to do is come into my master wave frequency here. Let's set this to 4 instead. And let's play this back. I'll set that down to a third, so it's going to preview a bit faster. And so now that's going to be playing back a lot faster, and we don't have to worry about matching anything up at all. We've only got one, one parameter that we have to keep an eye on. I'll set that to 1. Let that round preview. Michael says, I like Builder, but it really starts to slow down after adding a few nodes. Using the OFX version in Flame, I end up rebuilding Builder effect with individual nodes in batch. That's not something that I've really noticed. It might be different in Flame, possibly because I don't work in Flame, but it should be the same speed no matter whether you're working in Builder or straight through the individual effect. We shouldn't be seeing a big difference in the speed there. Let me write that down. I will remember that and I'll come back to you on that. There we go. So this is the fun we have with office hours, because we get to actually answer questions and look into things. Yeah, I'll get back to you on that one, Michael. I'll come back in here. I'll show you one of the other new filters that I did. So this is the original clip we've got. Did that just blink out at me? No, that was just me, probably literally just blinking. Okay, I don't know. Yeah. So one of the other things that we've got with Builder, in fact, with all of the Sapphire effect, but actually Builder in particular, has the ability to take a mask from a different source. And we can, in After Effects, we can take a mask from a layer or from a path. In most other hosts, we just have the ability to take a mask from a layer. But I'm going to come in here. I will call this one Ben. I was going to say Ben Text. I'm going to call this one Ben. There we go. That's basically the level of creativity that you've caught me with today. There we go. Ben, lovely, beautiful. If I forget my name, I just look back at my old tutorials. So we got Ben there. Let's take that away. So I can select my. Actually, let's load a preset in here, because this is what people generally do, the mistake people generally make. Let's slot that into there. They'll load in a preset, and maybe a preset has some special instructions that you need to pay attention to. So yeah, here are all the presets we've got. Like, yeah, we've got almost, even after curating them down, we've still got almost 300 presets in Builder. We can find the new ones, the ones we've changed significantly for 2023.5, just by typing in 2023.5. So we've made significant changes to 55 of them. But we've also got some new ones in here as well. John's been very busy making some very pretty backgrounds. Very nice. I love these. And I have created something that's called Glassy Mask Distortion. Now, all of these presets have a little area here for a description. Do you know what most people don't do? They don't read the description. I spend a lot of time when I'm doing this description. I was like thinking ahead, like this is going to be like as close to documentation as we actually get with a preset. And then people just look at, like, go through and look at it and just go, oh yeah, that looks pretty. It's like, yeah, no, that's cool. It's cool. It's that as well. You'll get more out of it. If you read just a little bit, you'll get more out of it. Because if you look at this effect, it looks bizarre. It doesn't look like it's doing anything properly. It looks like it's not glassy for a start. It's just this weird gradient thing. Except it is. It is. Let's read literally the second line on here. Add a mask input to create a glassy effect in the shape of the mask. Okay. So, passive aggressive Ben, why don't we come in and actually add a mask to this layer here? And yeah, Michael says Ben's not bitter about it. Yeah, I'm definitely not bitter about it. I love it. So here, all you have to do, select a mask from a layer, and you've got this lovely little glassy look. And I can come in here, I can change this up on the fly and find out what font that I actually want. Oh, that's nice. There we go. And I'll call this one Glassy. It looks a bit like Classy, but it's fine there, you know. And so we've got this here, and we've got, you know, fun stuff we can do with adding little bits of light shine and all of that sort of fun stuff. I'm not going to go through this. You can hopefully explore yourself on this one. This is one of my favorites. Actually, let's bring me down there, over there. Yeah, I sort of I do like this one. There's you know, a bit of thought put into this one, you know, for a change, obviously. So we've got, yeah, all little fun bits we can do with the glassy things. But we don't have to stop there. I mean, this is obviously, this is going to be good for logos and things with a with an alpha channel. But what if something doesn't have an alpha channel? What have I got here? I've got something smoky. This hasn't got an alpha channel. This is a sneak preview of something else that I'm working on at the moment. But you know, we'll see that at a later date. Let's have a little look at this. So say I wanted to use something that's just got a gradient map. Oh, sorry, black and white image. So for example, if I wanted to do like a little texture of some sort over the top here. Now, if I just choose, instead of going for my glassy, I'll go to my smoky. This just gives me a sort of, yeah, a little square in the middle. It's like, that's not very fun. There we go. Yeah, that's not very fun at all. Now, why is it doing that? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, because we're giving it just a single layer here, After Effects thinks it is just this size. So we will need to pre-compose it. So we can just come in and go to Layer, Pre-compose, move all of our stuff in there. Thank you very much, that'll do. And so now if we look at this, well, nothing's changed. And the reason for that is because of the way that this effect is created up. It's made because it's expecting an alpha channel. So it's expecting something like text or something like a logo with alpha. That's not to say you can't use a black and white texture in here at all. We just have to go in and edit the effect and edit one little thing. So if I come in here, see this is a it's doing, you know, it's doing a bit of lifting. And we've even got a little note here that says, set your mask in the host or create another object here, like this shape layer that I've handily left people, like a little star. There we go. But we can also come in, and this is the one that's actually interesting for us. That's the set alpha, and at the moment everything is set to alpha, so blue, green, red, all set to alpha. Even the alpha set to alpha. If instead we wanted to use a black and white clip, like a Luma mat, all we have to do is set this to Luma instead. And I hit OK. I won't touch anything else, and we now have our little squiggly things in the middle there. Those squiggly things aren't very visible, but let's make my black and white thing a little bit bigger, and then we now have my alpha channel working as my luminance working as the alpha that's driving the glassiness. We can see that working through there, which is kind of nice. Should probably set that to auto so that it will preview a bit faster. There we go. So you can just imagine what you can do with this sort of stuff. You can obviously come in and put in sort of different textures and things, and it's kind of a nice little fun one. What else we got? I think there we go. I've got a logo in here as well. Let's bring a logo in. Boris FX logo, of course. New Boris FX logo. Looks very pretty. Oh, it's very blurry. Let's turn on continuous rasterization, and let's just change up what it's going to use. There we go. Lovely. So that's a nice way. We've got a couple of different effects that use the mask input in Builder already, but there's obviously there's a lot of scope for doing that. Yeah, there's a ton of things you can do here. I think I'm going to actually while I'm here, because this is the nice thing about working with John Dickinson as well, is that we sort of bounce ideas off each other a little bit. And so I sort of showed my little glassy mask distortion, and he said, have you thought about doing something else with it? I said, no, I haven't. You do it. And so he did. He went and did it. He went and made, where is it? This one here, which is a bit more of a scratched up glass look. So if I zoom in here, you can actually see all the little scratches in there. That's cool. So if I come back into my effect builder, edit the effect. Hello to Germany. Greetings to Germany. It's nice to see. This is we're doing office hours at a slightly different time than we've done for most of the year. So it's nice to see my European friends again. It's also nice not to have to do these late at night. Yes, we got like this. Yeah, it's like a little icy look going on in here. If I zoom in, you can see all those little, the scratched up stuff. And that's happening with the, we've got a bit of grunge happening here. So if you don't want it that sort of scratched up, you can just take your grunge down. We've got some dirt spots as well. So yeah, it's a nice different take on it as well. And I think, that's why it kind of deserves to have like lots of different presets all on the same sort of theme. I like this. Right, I'm going to just save this out because I got a little. There we go. That's me there. Yeah, I just got a little bip error, which means that I'm going to have to restart After Effects. But that gives me a chance just to talk to you. There we go. Yeah, if you're watching Office Hours with me, Ben Brownlee, this is your chance to ask questions or just drop in, say hello, as so many of you are doing already. And we're going to be starting up these again every week. Again, we took a little bit of a hiatus because we did have a huge amount of new software releases coming out all at the same time, so things got a little bit hectic. But we're back. We're better than ever, and we're also back with After Effects as well. Okay, and it's gonna just do that there. Okay. I want to have a look and actually just talk a little bit about this effect here. And this is based off another preset. This was the projected vintage film, and there's something kind of nice that I did with this, which it's a nice little builder trick, and something that you can only really do in After Effects with Sapphire if you're using the builder, because of that nodal system that we have. We can start feeding effects into each other, and that's looking at the outline of the outline of the film frame here. And let's see if I can remember how I did it. This is always the fun bit. All right. Oh yeah, I was going up to search in here because that's always the demo friendly way of looking through all of these effects. Let's turn my face cam off for a sec, or move it over there. Yeah, this is the sort of demo way of presenting all of these effects, going look at all these effects. But there's actually an easier way of searching for effects now if you know what you're doing, or if you know what effects you're looking for. And I can just hit tab. It's literally it, and I can just type in the name of the effect that I'm looking for, and I'm looking for shape. And even with inside of Builder, we can open up presets inside of Builder. So Builder has its own presets, and every effect has its own individual presets as well. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to make a little, what's it called? Rectangle. That's the word you're looking for, Ben. You're looking for rectangle. And let's bring this up and bring this out over here. I don't actually have to have this connected to a source. I'm just going to have it roaming free for the moment being. So at the end of the outer edges here, I wanted to come in and sort of roughen things up a little bit, because I didn't want that clean look. I mean, I could come in and blur things on the shape, and that's cool. Yeah, I like that. We can blur things, but I wanted to just sort of come in and do something to the edges. So let's hit. Do I want to? I'm now trying to remember what the actual thing is that I used here. This is also how you know that we're live, is that I just completely forget what it is I'm doing. But I'm going to guess if it's me struggling for something, then I probably went into the distort category, because that is definitely my go-to here. I probably didn't do it this way, but let's do it this way. I'm going to see if I can do just add in little waves over the top. And let's bring the amplitude all the way down, so we've just got like a tiny amount of stuff in here. Actually, I might, yeah. Let's bring that in there. So you can start to roughen up the edges a little bit here. But there's another way of making sure that when you are doing this sort of stuff, if you kind of take it a bit too far, that you're not eating into the frame too much. Because here's another nice little thing here, we've got a matte input coming in. So I can actually have the same thing coming into my matte input there. And this will make sure that the effect only happens within, within the effect here. So the wave warp only happens within inside the shape. So if I come in and make this really big, it's only going to happen inside that shape. If I invert the matte, it's only going to happen outside of the shape. So we start to roughen some edges up. You can see we can either go outside or inside. And if I wanted to change things up a little bit, maybe have a bit more flexibility to it, I can add in a transform in there. So warp transform. And so let's make sure that the shape is just going in here, the warp transform's coming out, and then I can just make sure, scale this up or scale this down so that I can choose. Let's zoom in here. I can sort of choose how rough my edge actually is. So it's kind of nice knowing that you've got like the ability to feed things into itself. Let's actually have a little look at how I originally did it, because Office Hours does a ton of prep. What am I saying? Obviously, I prepped a load for Office Hours. No, it's free form. It's a free form conversation. That's what we're doing. Let's have a little look here. So I used a vignette. That's interesting. Okay, that's clever of me. So I used vignette instead of a shape. And then I did edge randomness with clouds. Oh, that's very clever. And then I did the whole masking thing in there. I knew I did that. But yeah, framed it in with the warp transform again. And just use the edge width in there. Just bring in the clouds. Oh, clouds. That is, of course. Very clever, Ben. Because that means I could just zoom in here. Yeah, get a nice little ruffled edge there. Or get something a bit smoother. Do you ever get it where a past version of yourself actually impresses present day version of yourself just because you didn't remember actually doing anything like this? Like, yeah, all right, it's good to know. I suppose that's the joy of experimentation as well. Oh yeah, this was another little fun one. Let's just fit this in. This is something you'll find in a ton of the presets, and I would recommend you do this if you make your own stuff as well. Add sticky notes in to remind yourself of why you did things. I mean, that's a classic case in point here. Using clouds just to do an edge randomness. And then forgetting about it. Because if you do a lot of projects, after a few weeks, things are going to disappear out of your mind a little bit. So the more you can remind yourself and prompt yourself and help others, even if that other happens to be yourself, with sticky notes, that's always going to be a good idea. And in this sticky note, it says swap out color fuse looks for the film fading effect to get a standard fading vintage look. Or I could just turn off 2-strip and turn on film fading and keep my color fuse. Maybe even add to the color fuse. I don't know. I've gone out of the frame there. yeah, you can start to experiment a little bit there. Nice. I kind of like that. It's not as yeah, it's not as old sort of, yeah, two-strip vintagey, but it's got a bit more of a, you know, faded Super 8 feel now. I like that. Hey. And again, sort of building on that idea that we've been looking at the you know, the whole time, which has been coming in and, you know, only exposing the stuff that we actually need. Michael asks, do you have a quick way to add sprocket holes? I don't, but there is another one in here, another preset in here, which does have sprocket holes. And I'm trying to remember which one it is. Could it be film strip? It could be film strip. So maybe there's something in there. I think let's have a little look here. See how, if this has been done in a clever little way. Yeah. Okay. I suppose the clever little way is actually just adding in a ton of shapes and then shifting them around and then math opping them. I think this was yeah, it looks like it was, everything was made at the bottom and then duplicated and warped up to the top. At least we've got sprocket speed, you know, there's something there. Bunch of boxes, yes, exactly. A bunch of boxes with warp perspective with the tile set on. Good old bunch of boxes. That is, you know, that's the classic way of doing it. But at least, you know, it's got the warp perspective doing it, and it has got, you know, what we talked about right at the very, very start of this stream, that auto animating going on from, you know, from 0 to its actual, you know, final value here. So it is auto animating on. So I think that's, I don't know, I kind of like that. I think it's got some style to it, even if it is bunch of boxes. I did want to talk about stuff that goes wrong as well. Do we have time to talk about stuff that goes wrong? We've got a little bit of time. Okay, so yeah, office hours is an office hour, and we're almost there. Now this is a I'll show you this. This is an idea that I couldn't quite get working right, and it may make its way back in a you know, in a different form in a later version of, you know, as a later preset, because I mean that's really, you know, what we're looking at here is just different ways of building up effects and making new effects using presets. So this I kind of liked this idea, and I sort of wanted to be able to create sort of random words or random, you know, sort of random textures coming in and sort of moving in and moving out. I kind of liked it, but it wasn't quite working. And I've done it again. I've chosen the wrong thing here. Right, let's come and have a little look at this one. Yeah, because this sort of started off as a as me sort of trying to come in and tweak one of the old presets, and it kind of went in a very different direction. And like most of my motion backgrounds, it started with clouds. I do like clouds. Yeah, yes. We got Esuken says this reminds me of the error scenes from Neon Genesis Evangelion, but blurred out. Evangelion. There we go. But blurred out. Yeah, that's kind of it, that one. I'm not going to say that was the inspiration, but there is that kind of that feel to it that I was sort of going for, was that kind of busted feel. So yeah, like a ton of my my motion backgrounds, I started off with a cloud. I put a bit of color on there with quad tone. You know, all of these start off as kind of just experiments to find out what's going on. And then one of my favorite things to do with these is to kind of do an edge detect over the top to kind of give it a bit more depth, because you know, when we got something like that, edge detect over the top, then you know, putting it over the top of itself using a math ops with something set, you know, where we got, like, some of these can be a bit bizarre or a bit of nothing. Odd bits, orbits. Yeah, some of these math ones are pretty odd. But I do like kind of just seeing what I can do with that. And then obviously going back to my old ways of if you don't know what you're going to do, you head into the distort category and you stick something on there, and you hope something pays off. Then, see, this was the fun bit. I knew I wanted to blur it out, and so I brought in a median, and that was kind of like, okay, that's interesting, because it's starting to really, well, not only really slow down the system, but it's starting to give it a little bit more you know, chewiness to it. And I thought, okay, we can do chewiness. And then we brought in a convolve, and so, like, the convolve lets you do blurs, but using your own little kernel, so using your own basic shape. So I thought, okay, maybe let's see what happens if we take in, like, the background and sort of blur things out using that texture. And you can see, hang on, I think I even tried, yeah, there's a shape that I've got here. Let's turn the shape on, and you can see what happens when I bring that in as the convolve instead. It's kind of doing something, but it's not as fun. It's not quite as fun. So I thought, all right, how am I going to you know, just sort of keep bringing something in there and actually making it look like something. And I knew we were close with this, but we weren't quite there yet. And then even just adding on rack defocus, the blurry bit, which is always my favorite sort of bit. It couldn't quite lift it to where I wanted it to go to. So, you know, not all of these little experiments are going to be winners straight out, but like this one here, this is pretty much where I took, I think 70s wave warp. This is pretty much where I got to with that, and then I started to sort of experiment in a different way. But then we ended up with this. Or actually, is it 70s wave warp, or it might even have been plastic something or other. Nope, plastic warp. That's a good one as well. Is it one that I have changed recently? Yeah, glassy. There we go. Glassy purple background. So you can see that there's like a ton of stuff that starts off looking, you know, as if we're going in the same direction, but then you can just add another couple of bits, and all of a sudden you're in you're in a completely different zone. But I can never make that one work. I will come back to it at some point. I think I will try and make it work. If you've got any suggestions about how you would make this work, please let me know. And that's not just an empty please. That's a very, very serious please, because I do want this to do something here. And we do have another question. Michael says, any headway on getting live previews for the OFX Ultra Rain? Oh yeah, in the preset browser. Yes, there is movement forward. Is it working yet? No, but we are definitely yes, we're definitely still looking at what that's doing, because yeah, Ultra Grain is it's really one where you want to kind of be able to see what's happening as it's going through. I think there are some hosts that are working now, but other hosts that just aren't, which is if you're on Flame, which I think you are, I think you're on the no there. Yeah, and Color Fuse as well. Color Fuse is another one where I would like people not to have to rely on the beautifully styled thumbnails to figure out what they're doing. We are very aware of that, and that hasn't been forgotten about. Absolutely. Or absolutely not, I should say. Cool. Yeah, so I just wanted to experiment a little bit with this hour here, just to see what we could start to do, and show you what we can, some of my thought processes when I'm working with these, and showing some of the new things that we can do with parameter linking and Sapphire 2023.5. I know that I've been working with the parameter linking for actually quite a while now, and it's absolutely revolutionized how I sort of work with the Sapphire effect and Builder in general, because it's so much easier now to create bigger, more involved effects, knowing that at the end of it people are only going to have to scrub through a few parameters rather than get lost in hundreds of parameters which you could do before. All right, so that is our office hours, our first office hours after the brief hiatus we had. We're going to be back next week. I believe that Elizabeth is going to be back next week looking at some paint work. But stay tuned. If you're not already subscribed to the Boris FX or Boris FX Learn channels, then now is as good a time as any to hit that subscribe button. I just want to say thank you very much for everyone who's joined us live. We will be back next week. Keep your questions coming in the comments section below as well, though. And I will see you all very soon. All right, everyone. Bye for now. And now here is where I figure out where my promo or my outro button actually is. Right, bye for now.